Business editor Stephen Carroll joins me now on the set to talk a bit more about our business news today. Hi, Stephen. You're going to start in the United States with new hopes for a stimulus plan for the economy.
That's right. The White House has made a new offer in these long-running talks. We know that lawmakers in Washington haven't been able to agree on a new stimulus plan for months now. The latest package announced by the US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, it's totaling $916 billion in value. That would include $40 billion for federal unemployment benefits, but crucially wouldn't extend the extra money that people who were laid off earlier this year had been getting under the last stimulus plan. That's payments that expired at the end of July this year. It would, though, include a new round of stimulus checks, direct payment to Americans, $600 each they'd get under this current plan. Now, leading Democrats and Republicans have been going back and forth about these issues for months now. A group of bipartisan senators came up with their own plan last week, around the same value as the White House plan, just slightly less, $908 billion. That would include extending those unemployment benefits. People would get $300 extra a week if they'd been laid off because of the pandemic. That's at a total cost of $180 billion. Also lots more money for small business support, another $288 billion, and money for schools and local governments in that plan as well.
Is there any chance any of these deals would actually get rolled out?
The two people that have to agree on this are Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the House of Representatives, Democrat, and the Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. They're the ones that have to come up with the ultimate deal. And they have been talking about this. Now, this new White House plan hasn't gone down very well with the Democrats. They've given it a pretty frosty reception, saying that it was unacceptable to proceed without those unemployment benefits I was just talking about. There is a counteroffer on the table from Mitch McConnell to the Democrats, which is looking at issues like lifting one of their key demands, which is legal protections for schools and businesses during the pandemic. But they want concessions from the Democratic side as well. They want them to give up this demand for immediate help for local governments. So there's lots of back and forth still happening on Capitol Hill around this. Of course, they're looking now at an interim plan to try and get them through until January, when Joe Biden's administration will take over. He's called on Congress to do something. We know this money is badly needed. We know that it's been badly needed for months now. Still probably another week of talks to go. The House of Representatives set to look at a bill today extending Congress funding for the government, I should say, for another week.
Next now, Stephen, to Australia, where the government there is pushing ahead with plans to make big tech companies pay news organisations for their journalism.
Yeah, so the Parliament is examining a new bill which will force Google and Facebook to negotiate payments with news providers for displaying their content on their platforms. The proposed code of conduct requires these firms to strike a deal or face binding arbitration. The legislation designed to support the local media. It wouldn't come into force until next year. With the details, here's our Sydney correspondent, Rochelle Harrison-Pless.
The Australian government has thrown down the gauntlet to Google and Facebook this Wednesday, unveiling new legislation in Parliament that would force the internet giants to pay Australian media companies to feature news content on their platforms. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says this media bargaining law is a world first and would level the playing field, as tech heavyweights have long been accused of profiting from the work of journalists without having to pay a cent for it. The platforms rake in billions of dollars selling online ad space against the attention paid to news content that they didn't produce. Currently, Google and Facebook command more than 80% of the Australian online advertising market. Well, this new code of conduct seeks to correct this power imbalance by having both parties hammer out a payment deal. If there's a deadlock after 3 months, they'll be forced into arbitration. This landmark legislation will set up both sides for a showdown, with Google and Facebook no doubt fearing similar laws and larger payouts in other countries.
That's our Rochelle Harrison-Pless. Thanks to you, Stephen, as well, for that business update. We're going